But who better than me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the brand new series of Base Talks. And on this one, I've got a very special guest, as you can see on the screen, the main girl, 5-0 now, Shannon Chaos Ryan. Shannon, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I can't complain. I mean, look, the day itself was all right, but I find the evenings is always the worst, especially like where I live. So
yeah, humid, isn't it?
it is a little bit, definitely so. Now, for those who don't know, obviously the Basis Talks series, it actually started on Sunday. I did want Shannon to be the number one episode, but she ghosted me after the show. So
I went AWOL. The adrenaline kicks in and it's wild.
it happens. But you know what? The reason I respect you is because you was like, "No, you know what? My bad. Let's get it in as soon as possible."
Absolutely.
So gotta respect that.
I stick to my word. Do you know what I mean? And
You do.
Here we are.
Definitely. And what I do also want to say is not just congratulations for the weekend, which we will talk about very shortly, but also congratulations, and I'm cheering you on for, leaving the enclosed and shackled world of the horrible Apple iPhone and coming to the wonderful but sometimes daunting open world of Android and Samsung. I say that I used to work for them, so but
oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah, but it was a good one. How you finding the new phone?
Yeah, no, good. What have I got? The 23 Plus. Yeah. And then obviously I had that, and then they brought out the Ultra. But yeah, it was kind of tough to begin with. But I'm used to it now. I'm used to it.
Good stuff. Okay, so as again, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I do appreciate you giving me some of it. So first thing I want to ask you, how did it feel being back in the ring after almost 7 months? How did you feel in there?
Oh, like I was home. I feel like I said to everyone that I spent 6 months working on a lot of things, which I think the public would have seen in there. And I just devoted my 6 months to that camp, worked on things, and to get back in the ring to showcase what I did. Yeah, it felt good. It felt good to be back.
Good. And how did it feel going the extra 2 rounds? Obviously, that's a new experience for you. Something obviously you're building up to those championship rounds, those championship fights. But how did you kind of feel in rounds sort of 7 and 8?
Oh, I felt good. We've been sparring, 12 rounds with the world champion Nina Hughes, which was magnificent for this fight. 2 minutes go so quick. So when you have got those extra rounds, it's nice to be able to build up in rounds, rather than having 4 or 6 rounds where that just goes really, really quick. And I feel like 6 rounds is cool, but the 8 rounds allowed me to build round by round. We didn't get the stoppage, but you could see that I was picking things up as the rounds went on. So yeah, definitely happy with that and the improvements that were made.
And you know what? Funny thing you say that. Literally on the show, you probably haven't seen it yet. I will send it to you afterwards. But myself and Danny Glover, who was covering for Tony, who I think you did see, and he did get his usual selfie with you on the night. But we was actually saying, like, we could see all the improvements that you made from your very last fight to this one, and even when we previously spoke back in February, where you said that sometimes you noticed that you was being a bit too quick.
Yes,
sometimes the movements. Yeah, but you definitely slowed it down. You was picking punches a lot more clean and crisp than you did previously. And both myself and Danny did say that had you have had that performance in any of your first 4, chances are those you would have got KOs or stoppages in those fights. So the building is there.
Agreed.
Like it's all coming together perfectly. And yeah, I can definitely see the improvement. So congratulations on the weekend.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw. So thank you for that.
So what I want to do, obviously, I know that we've had conversations and spoke about certain things on the other channel, but as this is my one, and for the benefit of possibly people who don't necessarily watch Undefeated, if you just give us sort of like a brief summary of how you kind of got into the game again, and sort of when you started your your combat training and everything, and yeah, we'll sort of take it from there.
Yeah, so what am I now? I'm 26 now. I started kickboxing when I was 5 years old at my dad's gym. the reason for the switch to boxing, so I started boxing in 2018. One was for a new challenge. Two, I won everything there was in the kickboxing. The style that I'd done wasn't K1. You weren't allowed to knock them out. It was sport karate where it stop-start and it was semi-contact. So I've had to kind of develop the sitting on your shots and working the power and executing second phase. So yeah, I started boxing as an amateur in 2018, August. And then we went pro March 2022 is when I had my debut. In between that transition, in 2016, I was on the GB Taekwondo team before I found boxing. And again, that was for a new challenge, but that sport just wasn't for me. And I found myself now with boxing, which is for me.
Fair enough. And amateur, how many amateur fights did you have?
I had 10 amateur fights, won 7, lost 3.
Okay. So winning record by my count. So all good. Okay. So we just spoke about, obviously you've been out of the ring for sort of nearly 7 months, just got back in over the weekend. Last year you had 4 fights. You said you had your professional debut in March of 2022 and you were with BOXXER and being promoted on Sky Sports at the time. So tell me how that experience was initially for you and just sort of what you learned from that experience.
Yeah, so I'm still very grateful to Ben Shalom and BOXXER and Sky for putting me on their platform. For someone that had 10 amateur fights, you know, who is this girl that's just come on the scene, and they've put me on their shows. Although there was no contract, it was fight by fight. Hats off to Ben, he kept his word and said when he said I'll be on a show, I was on the show. So massive credit to Ben and the team there. They've done an excellent job with me. It's just there was no contract. I don't know why there wasn't a contract that got put forward. But the experience as a whole was magnificent. I learned a lot about myself and the sport itself and what I want to do with my career. And then being on that platform generally helped me for this Matchroom debut, because if I wasn't on that platform, would my performance have gone the way it did just gone? Probably not.
Now, you know, it's actually interesting. You say you didn't have a contract. I didn't actually realize that. So, so you was fight by fight the entire time.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, look. Okay, so with regards to that, then, like you had 4 fights. I know you wanted a 5th, but you couldn't quite get it in because of the delay to the women's card that took place on the October the 15th. So, what was was there any key differences between sort of how, I guess, Matchroom do a show and how BOXXER do a show, or was there anything that you noticed that either you preferred or you disliked? You don't necessarily have to go into it if you think it might be an issue, but just keen to understand.
Yeah, very little bit different. Little bit different. But we won't touch on that.
Fair enough, fair enough.
But yeah,
Maybe that's something we'll leave for after the recording. Okay, so with regards to now, so you're back in the ring finally. Do you have any I guess, do you have any designs on how many additional fights you want this year? Are you aiming for another 2 and 3? Is it just literally what comes your way, or is it going to just be constantly building? So whatever the plan is, the plan is.
Yeah, I think we're looking at another 2, which I'm fine with. I'm happy with. But I'm just waiting for the team to see what's next. I don't know when I'll be out next or what is next. It definitely will be another 8-rounder for sure. But yeah, when that will be, I'm not 100%. Just waiting for the team to go back, look at that performance and see if there's anything that they can do soon. Because I'm ready. Didn't take no damage, and it's now just getting that momentum back. Now that I've got a promoter backing me, I'm on another great platform, and it's now just getting that momentum to get myself out there.
Okay, are you on a multi-year contract with Matchroom, or is it maybe just like a set number of fights at the minute?
It's a good contract.
Okay, fair enough. No, I hear that. Fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so within your sort of division now at Super Fly, which is where you're competing at the moment, I know that there's not a huge amount of, I guess, money fights or sort of like it's not necessarily the glamour division. I know that, you know, if you go sort of minimum weight and sort of light fly, you've got sort of people like Sinistra Estrada, Marlon Esparza, sort of people like that who have sort of built that reputation. So are you almost hoping to necessarily, like, you want to be the one to either dominate the super fly and become that big sort of marquee name that, you know, people call out so that your phone's always ringing? Or are you is this like the building to sort of maybe get that first world title and then move into one of the glamour weights, like maybe bantam or
Yeah,
flyweight?
I think this weight is starting to build, which is really, really good and positive. But the good thing about me is I can get to that weight if I want to get to that weight. Right now, we're just choosing not to, because I'm strong at this weight and it's building. There's no point in depleting myself down when the fights right now are not the one just gone, but previous, a journey women. We're finding our feet, working on things, etc. So I think it's just a case of seeing what's available in Superfly, clean up in this division, and then as it is building, it is stacking, and then we'll see what we can do moving down the weights before we even look at moving up, because technically super flyweight is my one up because I sit at not that much above it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a case of doing the super flyweight division. It is building, see what's there, and then we will look at moving down for sure.
Okay. Now, what weight could you potentially get down to, like if you really forced it and still be functional? Because we're not talking about just making the weight, but being able to perform at it as well.
Oh yeah, definitely 49 kilos for sure. 49. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Um
cool.
yeah, definitely 100%.
Okay, so with regards to you were saying, I want to go back to sort of your fight on the weekend. So Benile, she was very tough. I did record every round from ringside. I've got all the footage there. We obviously spoke about it yesterday. um but you pretty much dominated, had your way, like won every round, barely lost a second of any round, barely took any shots, as you said, and took no damage. But was Eve, I think her name Little Tank maybe suggested that she was gonna be like a, you know, a chug forward, constantly come forward and keep you under pressure. Did any of that feel like, oh, I need to, you know, or maybe she's gonna press me, I need to put something on her to stop her moving forward because I might be starting to feel the pace a little bit? Or was it just a case of because she kept staying within range, it was just like target practice for you and that's what you kind of preferred?
Yeah, no, she definitely kept coming forward. But for me, when someone, like I said at the end of the interview, which I definitely was not being disrespectful because I don't want to be disrespectful, but if you're going to call yourself Tank, for me, that makes me think of Gervonta Davis. So then when she hit me with 2 clean shots, I think one here and like one here. But then when I felt that, I was like, right, like this is okay. I can get stuck in because there's nothing on that.
Mm.
But she did keep pressing forward, which what I didn't do was use my jab enough to stop her, to keep her back, to then follow up.
Yeah.
But I think that was, again, more fights, etc. But I was having such success with my combinations that I was using the combinations, and the jab come through in the end. But definitely, I could have stopped her a lot more from coming forward by using my jab 100%.
Okay. Funny enough, what one thing that myself and Danny was also speaking about was that within that fight, you started ripping to the body sort of from, I think, about round 4, 5, like more consistently. But we were both saying, if because you've got really good body punching, and we felt as if you had have started actually earlier, then
Yeah,
I think her hands would have dropped and she probably would have got caught with something
agree.
heavy toward the back end. Why do you think within the women's game there isn't a huge amount of body punches? Because it's that the two people with like probably the best KO ratios at the moment definitely employ a lot of body punching, but not a lot of women seem to be a fan of it. Why do you think that is?
Studied the game, coaching, um, and a general understanding of boxing and setting up shots. I think a lot of females, and I said this in a few interviews, is there's more to boxing than just throwing hands. It's setting up your shots, it's feinting, it's controlling the lane. Like the opponent that I had on the weekend, we watched her against other opponents and she was having such success. But then even me just putting my hands out, controlling the lane, stopped her from punching. And I think a lot of people just want to go in there and have a war. Whereas for me, I'm like, don't hit me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not here to get hit. I'm here to hit you, and you're not hitting me. So it's how do you stop that? Everyone knows boxing is like chess, and it's hit and don't get hit, or like Eddie Futch said, take calculated hits. So when I'm in there and I'm on the guard, I'm taking calculated hits to then come back with what I want to run back. But yeah, I definitely just think it is a lack of all that combined for sure.
No, I mean, I totally get that. And to be fair, there was a couple times when you threw straights to the body. I visibly saw her wince, and I thought, oh, okay, she's got her now, kind of thing. So, and you're quite right. You hit and not get hit. That's the art. So, how do you nullify that? And some of your framing in the fight, even though I know technically it's not a legal, it's not a legal tactic, but it was perfect, as you said, to stop her from engaging.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right. So I'm gonna kind of leave that fight. I just want to ask you a couple sort of general questions, and then I'll let you head off. So, with regards to at the moment, you obviously you was on a big card. You know, there was a triple world header, and it was like two other sort of women's fights on their title fights. When you kind of see that, and then you see like Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron, or Taylor Serrano, or Shields Marshall, which you was also on the card of, like, what does that necessarily say to you as a competitor, sort of like how, in terms of where women's boxing is going, and sort of where your trajectory can be like in the game moving forward?
For me, do I think I could headline a show in the future? Absolutely. I think I've got the style to do that. That's exciting, where you're not going to want to not watch because you don't know what's going to happen next round, for women's boxing, like all of those names that you said have all contributed to where it's at now, and it's exciting. And to be involved in it at this day and age, at this age, so it's like to be involved with it when it's still growing, I think is amazing, because then I'm then potentially building towards that as well. So to be involved in the sport right now is, a huge honor. The fact that it is building and becoming a lot more kind of seen and successful, and to see even just 2 female fights on a card is fantastic. You get the one, but then when you get the 2 or the 3, that just shows that in time, we might get one male and the rest female. It might turn the other way. But yeah, no, it's definitely gone in the right direction, and to be involved with it is such an honor.
No, fair enough. I totally agree. With regards to that, actually, so we know the women are able a lot easier to sort of move up and down weights. Now, you're saying that, once you dominate at super fly, you'll look to maybe go down fly, possibly even maybe get to light fly if you're really brave. But where do you think you can max out at and still be competitive? Because obviously anyone can go to whatever weight, but where you still think you could legitimately win a world title, what do you think would be your heaviest?
My heaviest,
Yeah.
What's the next one up? Bantamweight, 53.5.
Okay, 118.
Because that's what I pretty much walk around at. So I would be fully fueled. But got to remember, these girls at bantamweight are coming down from 57 kilograms to 60 kilograms. So we would look at moving up, not straight away. That would probably be like towards the end of the career. But I think like super bantam, I think that's pushing it a little bit. Do I think I could run it with some of them? Absolutely. But in terms of, is it feasible? Is it, not is it doable, because it is, but it's, is it worth it? That's what you got to look at. Is it worth it? Because again, the people from 55 are coming potentially from 61 to 63, and they're coming down so much. It's when you get to the lighter weights, we don't have that much on us, so we can not drop in so many kilograms, if that makes sense.
No, I hear you. I mean, look, to be fair though, one thing you would definitely have over them is the speed advantage, and
Absolutely,
you being
yeah.
a lot smaller, having that sort of the crouch, you could definitely get under a lot of shots. You've got a very sort of thick set base, which obviously comes a lot from the kickboxing and the the taekwondo. So you've definitely got the power, I guess, to sort of keep them honest if for nothing else. But again, that was just a hypothetical. I just wanted to see
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you felt you could probably reach if you really wanted to. Um, with regards to that, actually, funny enough, speaking about that, so going back to obviously the women's card previously, one thing that was I think made a lot of headlines for the card itself was the weigh-in. Ebony Bridges seems to be a very big proponent of sort of making statements at weigh-ins as well. Shanika Johnson came in with a sprayed on top, which was innovative as such. Now she said that she has a partnership with OnlyFans. So one way to speak to you about just with regards to that in particular is it seems like they are doing quite a bit to try and change either the image or the perception of what a lot of people believe OnlyFans to be. Like ultimately, it's
Yeah.
just a subscription-based service, and whatever you do on there is whatever you do on there. But they've got a lot of sports athletes, and especially like boxers now, male and female, to sort of partner up with and promote it to say, oh well, it's not just that. Like, come be a part of it, join it. Would you, if they came to you and said, look, we got a proposal for you, collaboration, we'd like you to sort of open up your own account and be one of the faces of it as well, is that something that maybe you could do alongside your other sponsors, or do you feel like sort of because the perception is still a bit salacious, it might not do the same thing for you and your current brand?
I think if I was to do it off my own back, then it wouldn't really fit within what I'm doing with my brand. But in terms of business, depends on what they proposed. Depends on whether I do it. But is it something that I'm thinking of jumping on? Not really, because the way the direction I'm moving in, it doesn't really fit into what I want to do. But for those that are doing it, fair play to them.
No, I hear that. Makes total sense. All right. Last one, or last couple, I should say. Now, you've just come obviously out of the ring. Is there any plans for any holidays before you sort of get back into training camp? Because I do see that on social media, you do like to get away every now and again.
Yeah, I'm just going to just Budapest tomorrow. There's a kickboxing tournament out there, so I'm just going to go see some friends that I've not seen for a very long time, and just have some chill time over there. And then next week we'll be back in the gym, but no camp just yet, but just ticking over, continue to work on things, and then just get ready, waiting for that date.
Brilliant. And speaking of that date, when would ideally you like to be out? And is there any specific cards that maybe you would want to be on, that maybe whether they've been announced or they haven't been announced yet, that you would really like to sort of jump on?
Definitely in the future, I would love to be on an AJ card. I just think that makes perfect sense, for sure. I would definitely love to fight in America as well. On which card, I don't know. Just at some point in my career, maybe next year, I would love to fight in America. And when would I like to be out? Anything within the next 3 months, really, for sure.
Okay, so what we're saying by sort of the end of September time.
Yeah, that'd work well.
Yeah, sounds good. So the next fight, I mean, are we going for maybe like a European strap or something like that, an interim title, or are we just
Not
waiting?
Yeah, not the next one. Another just 8 rounder. Find my feet a little bit with Matchroom, and then we'll push on and see what's after that one.
Okay, fair enough. Well, look, Shannon, thank you very much for your time.
No
I'm going to
problem.
let you get off, and yeah, I appreciate it, everyone. Shannon Kaos Ryan, 5-0, big things in her future, and we look forward to the next one. So, catch you later.
Wicked. Thank you.